I wanted to share a personal presentation with y'all this week. We're going through something that's challenging. We're going through something that a little bit of emotional intelligence and self-awareness can help us tremendously. So I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to take you through some change thoughts. I'm going to take you through some basic information on a little bit of change management, some thoughts that you can have to think ahead. And then I'm going to use the DISC model. I'll explain it so anybody has never seen it before. I'll explain the DISC model very, very quickly. And then I'm going to use the DISC model to show you how important it is to stay really self-aware during these times, especially when we're leading during change or crisis. So the title is We're in This Together, Navigating Through Tough Times. But I want you to understand that although we might all be on the same journey together, we might all be in the same boat together, we're all getting a completely different ride. And that's important to understand about empathy. So I want to say that first, and I'm going to fine tune it in a minute. So the first slide that I have for you and the first thought I have for you is think about taking care of yourself first, then taking care of others that you lead so that they can in turn take care of the people that we serve every single day. That's probably one of the messages that I hear most right now, that as a business, what can I do to take care of my customers? Because the customers are our lifeblood of how we generate our livelihoods, how we take care of our families. But don't forget right now, whoever you're serving, if you're a small business or if you're even a big business, taking care of all of your clients is paramount. And I would even say that everything we're doing, not just from the corporate side, from the small business side, these are all real brand defining moments for us. And I don't mean brand as in logo. I literally mean brand as how people are going to remember us and how they're going to remember our brand when this is all said and done. And so I want to take you back and really have you think about that for a second. So you have to first take care of yourself. If you're going to lead in tough times, there's nothing more important than be able to lead from a sense of calm. And for me, if you're going through a lot of stress moments, it's really tough because you're trying to be calm yourself, lead other people. I'm going to tell you about something called I cannot believe it just flew out of my head. Hold on real quick. I got to find it. Y'all just take 1 second. Just 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. It's called the Holmes-Rahe inventory. The Holmes-Rahe inventory. Believe me, I've said that probably 40 times this last week, and all of a sudden, under pressure, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I can't remember something I learned in 2000 when I was working on my master's in seminary on marriage and family counseling. I've probably said this no fewer than 40 times, and all of a sudden my brain went, huh, what is it? Who? So Holmes and Rahe is a stress inventory. They started in 1967 looking at the factors of what happens when we're under stress. And what I want y'all to really take into consideration is that just prior to March, people were going through real life already. They were having real stressors and real things that were occurring. And what Holmes and Rahe did was, if you're working with someone, you might want to ask them some key questions like, what are you dealing with? And there are 43 different things that people deal with already that can stress them out. The most stressful thing that can happen to you is according to their assessment, is losing a spouse. So the death of a spouse. Now, and I can't remember which one it is because it's pretty high up there. I'm gonna look real quick. 7th out of 43 is just being married. Just being married. Like every time I say that, I almost laugh out loud because there's 43 stressors. And I'm not talking about getting married. I'm literally just being married. And so as I say that out loud, your people are already going through real stressors. They could have been moving. They could have just taken on a new job. It's maybe something they're learning a new skill set. Maybe they've just gotten over an illness or an injury. There's all things that are happening to us every single day. And what we need to be really cognizant of is that when they're going through this, we're adding in something amazingly stressful. We're adding in a pandemic to whatever they're dealing with. I'll give you a simple example. I had I had a lady that we were working with, and she had lost a personal friend over her lifetime, and this was just prior to March. Lost a personal friend, lost their father-in-law through death, and then started a program where she was going through a management program. It's a 13-week program, and that program is a combination of them leading an office and actually having to learn at the same time. So 2 deaths and going through a stressful new position, moving up from a salesperson to a manager. And then we just add in what's called a pandemic and all of the things that go with that. And so I share that with you because the next slide is going to test our empathy. It's going to test it at the absolute highest level. You've got people home at now. You've got them with their kids. You've got them thinking about key things like, can I get food enough? Can I get the basic necessities? All the other thoughts right now that we had on, strategic plans and 5-year plans, all of that stuff as leaders right now, we need to come back to a very simple moment and say to ourselves, wait a minute, we're not working on strategic plans right now. We're not looking at 5-year growth plans. What we're looking at right now is people that are trying to make sure at the lowest level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is, how do I take care of myself? How do I keep myself healthy? How do I make sure I have food and the basic necessities? And so when I put this slide up, testing your empathy, I think that's a really important slide for all of us. And it's not just empathy is, a buzzword for leadership. Right now, more than ever, we need to be looking at multiple perspectives of what people are dealing with. And I'm really excited to share with you the DISC information and how you can use that to truly test your empathy and your emotional intelligence. All right, this is an article I read by Ken Blanchard, and y'all are familiar in the Express world of Ken Blanchard's situational leadership. And so I talked to Blanchard's people and got permission to kind of modify this a little bit, but I wanted to make sure I gave him credit for this. And I want to give you a couple of different things. It says, the first one, give people a chance to process what's happening. There are multiple changes, same boat, but different experience. So now I'm back to my original statement. You're the captain of this ship. You're navigating this ship as a leader, but don't forget what you're viewing and what you're doing is completely different than anything else that we've ever experienced in time. Because where normal, when you get on a ship, you have an origin and destination. Right now, we're experiencing waves coming at us from all different directions. You've got waves coming from us at how we're going to keep our clients, how we're going to keep our people. Can I continue to keep my people? What strategies can I use? Can I get enough, money put together through a loan or through the government process? How do I do that? How do I manage these things? So we're all in the same boat together, but all of us are dealing with this completely different. I liken it to people that are really good on boats, and then people that are in the boat and they're about to, like, man, this is a terrible decision I just made getting on this boat. And so as a leader, really think about that. You're going to have to give people a chance to process each time something changes. Each time in this situation, change is already tough, but under these circumstances, change can get much more difficult. Just remember that analogy that we're on the same boat, but we're all experiencing it differently. So that way we can really understand our empathy. Be mindful of people's feelings during this time. Probably more than ever, giving someone a sense of understanding, helping them understand where you see what they're going through is really important. I was talking to all our leaders today. I have 18 direct reports through this 13-week period, plus my other 3 that I work with every day. And I was talking to all these leaders because what I wanted them to hear from me was that it's okay to have real feelings during this. And their people are having real feelings. And what happens is, if we're not careful, we'll spend so much time on the competency side and trying to get a task done. We've got to get this done. We got to get this done. We got to take care of this. We got to figure out a way to sell. We got to figure out a way to do all these things. But people are having legitimate feelings right now. And those feelings, if you can understand them, and that's why empathy is going to be tested at its highest, seeing from that perspective is so crucial. And so I talked to all my leaders today and let them know that in these moments, task is good, head is part of it, but during these moments more than ever, if you can remind someone that their effort is you're grateful, that what they're doing, you understand. Right now, we're switching over all of our training from live to virtual. And so that's happening in real time. If I'm doing that and I'm doing extra effort, it would be exciting for the person that's leading me to say, wait a minute, every day is different for them. They're creating new virtual training. What would happen if I didn't have that sort of expertise? How can I, encourage them and inspire them to say, thank you for what you're going through? Because it just feels like a task if the person isn't connected with their heart. And more than ever, pay attention to how people are feeling. All right, have a clear plan and strategy for focusing on people's energy, on the few desired behaviors that would produce the greatest results. This is a good situational leadership thought too. And one of the ways to remember this is when someone is trying to eat an elephant in all one bite, it feels completely overwhelming. You wouldn't even know where to start. That's why that's a cliche. But where I've seen people get the most overwhelmed and frustrated, especially in change, is when you start thinking, how am I going to make profit? How am I going to take care of my customers? How am I going to make sure my people are okay? And now you've added in everything all in one big hit. And that will cause you to feel completely overwhelmed or stressed out. And so what I want you to do is, if you look at this, have a clear plan and strategy for focusing people's energy on a few desired behaviors. So think that way. What can I do singularly right now that will help me focus on the key things that can move to the next level, then to the next? If you start feeling yourself getting completely stressed out, you're trying to eat the elephant in all one bite. Take a step back and ask yourself, what can I focus my energy on that's specific that will give me a great result? Realize that not everyone will be on the same timetable, especially on new tasks. It's not any single competency right now. A lot of these things we're learning on the fly. And I want to kind of remind yourself back to situational leadership. And if you've never heard this before, that's okay. I'll give you a quick example. If you're learning something new, that's already a change agent. So if I'm learning something new, like the virtual training, or I'm trying to take this new law and then get a loan from it, all of that is new, every bit of it. And we're all trying to do this on the fly because every bit of this information, although we've read before, we understand what it is to get a loan before, we understand all of these things, going through their process, their way, is a new experience for all of us. And so the same thing you're asking of your people, I want you to just take this is all these moments is you have to take care of yourself first and be self-aware so that you can take care of your people so they can take care of your clients. We're going to have to take a deep breath on how fast we expect people to learn. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to do it quickly. What I am saying is the same development of any new task is equally as important for understanding. And so giving people good direction right now, hanging in there with them, coaching them through this process. I'm positive right now that if you're a small business owner and you're trying to make sense of the new loan that you can get, and then make sense of, should I make sure I'm doing tax deferment, FICA deferment, or should I be getting the loan? And is it only payroll? Just trying to manage yourself through this information right now is really, really tough. And so that competency alone is stressing us out and how we work. But don't forget, with your people, when they're learning a new competency, have that same sort of understanding. Wow, they're learning something new too. Empathy, empathy, empathy. All right, last one, help people understand that change keeps everyone forward focused, and that's a good thing. I'm going to share this last thought, and I'm going to deal with change as a leader on the next slide. One couple more thoughts on it. It is amazing what happens when we're forward focused and what happens when we think innovatively. Right now, when you get in a comfort zone, it's hard to think innovatively because you're comfortable with what you do. But right now, everybody's trying to adapt and change into different formats. We're trying to modify how we sell things, everything. I want to give you some encouragement about what's happening. In the early 1900s, the Industrial Revolution kicked off, and Henry Ford and manufacturing changed the lifeblood of our country. We also had little moments like unions came into place, protecting the worker, all these other areas. But I want to encourage you that in World War II, because we had Ford, GM, and Chrysler, when we went to over to France and Germany and fought in World War II, without GM, Ford, and Chrysler, we wouldn't have had the ability to absolutely retool all of our planes, all of our weaponry, all of our tanks. Everything was stopped on a dime, and we switched over. And that huge industrial problem that we might have caused, and other people might say was a problem, was the reason why today we were able to come out of World War II, because that manufacturing stopped all the cars and moved towards that. I want to make a comparison today. I can't prove it, but I have a pretty good sneaky suspicion that this is the same thing we're dealing with. For years, we used to talk about Walmart and all these big box things, and Walgreens and CVS, and how big these companies have gotten. Amazon, how big it is, and all this Uber, and man, look at things changing. I want to tell you right now that I see it the exact same way as Ford and Chrysler and GM saving us, because I cannot imagine what it would be like for all of us if we didn't have the infrastructure of deliverables right to your door. Can you imagine all of us right now trying to go to mom and pop stops and trying to get our food and trying to go, and we're all around each other? That infrastructure today is literally saving lives right this very second. And I say that because I want you to read that again. Help people understand that change keeps everyone forward focused, and that's a good thing. What you're doing right now to, and I'm going to put my next slide up, what you're doing right now to anticipate what you can do differently because of what you're learning right this very second can be the absolute change of how your business works. But you're going to have to really think differently about anticipation. And anticipate 2 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. If you're running a business, start imagining yourself on the rebound of this and asking yourself, what can you do to retool right now with the staff that you have, and be prepared for when this thing goes full blast again. My hope and prayer is that it's quick, but if not, it's one of those things where you can be anticipating what it is to be ahead of that curve and be ready. If you've got moments where you know there are areas in your business that you need to shore up, this is the time. Start sharpening your saw, as Covey would say. All right, we're navigating in real time, 1 point at a time. By the way, this is a great article I read from Korn Ferry CEO Gary Burnison, and so I also got his permission to use this information, and he said, please use it and share it with people. So the second is, don't forget, we're navigating in real time. I've been listening to small business owners right now because of my position and job at Insperity, and they're trying to navigate from point to point, from wave to wave, and know that that's real, not just for you, but for your people and for your clients. We're going to communicate more often than ever. I put up there like a GPS because I get this question a lot right now. Well, should I be, they're on virtual. How much should I communicate with them? How much should I be talking to them? It feels like micromanagement. It feels like I don't trust them. I want to give you an illustration. This comes from situational leadership as well. When you feel lost, the most powerful thing that you can get is good direction. And when you're in a car and you don't know how to get from one point to the next, I always use the example, be like a GPS. A GPS is right there for you, giving you turn-by-turn information to help you succeed. There is nothing more comforting right now to your people, especially working virtually, than knowing that they're getting good direction and they're having the opportunity to hear from you in real time. So don't take that as a negative that you're communicating more often. Communicate with good direction to help them navigate through this scenario that we're going through. So more often is better. And I'll give you a little hint when we talk about the I personality, more often is needed. All right. We're going to listen better than ever. And I always say this, let them loose, but don't let them get lost. When someone's on a journey like what we're on right now, we need to listen to people differently. Listen to what they're going through. Again, not just task. That's a great thing. We should learn about what they're learning in task and how clients are responding and all those things. But at the same time, listen better than ever. Listen for those areas in which your people might be hurting or struggling, not just the head side, but the heart side. Last couple of ones, and then we'll get into the disc information. Learn to utilize all of your people and think bottom up. There are people right now that are in this on the front edge of working with your clients, and they're learning things that they probably they're getting probably more inundated with customer service and more information than they ever have. And so right now, be utilizing them and encouraging those people to think bottom up. Whatever you're learning at the front line level, make sure they're sharing that information up. Maybe do that once a week, or even if it's really massive change and it's really quickly and you're learning a lot, maybe have them every other day or every day, depending on how much you're learning. But you should be utilizing all of your people at the highest level right now that you have, and then thinking bottom up to get that great information. And then the final thing is lead differently than ever before. Whatever your stereotypical thoughts on leadership is, all I want you to do, you can watch my hands. We're going to take our little judgment hat off and we're going to put our little empathy hat on. And what I mean by that is that there are so many stereotypical things we believe leadership is. People should be engaged. People should be doing their job. They should be in their cubicle working. I mean, whatever we typically say about leadership, and we believe that to be true about human beings, I want you to understand that right now, remember what we said? People are having unbelievable feelings of some fear, some anger, some guilt, some people are getting sick. I mean, there's so much stuff that's going on that if you lead like you've always led in times like this, you're going to miss your greatest test of empathy. And then I'll say this as a final thought on this before we move on. This is a brand defining moment for all of us. And I'm not talking about brand logo. I'm talking about brand who you are and how people see you. One more time, the way you're interacting with your people, your clients, not your people, but your clients, your clients will never forget how you took care of them right now. I've listened to leaders over the last couple of weeks say, go out, add value to our clients, make sure we're doing this, make sure we're taking care of them. And all I want to do is challenge you in this one thought to lead differently, is whatever you're asking of your people to take care of your clients, I want you to go back and take one step and say, wait a minute, if I'm asking them to reach out and call all of my clients, as a leader, am I doing the same for my people? Am I reaching out and calling every one of the people on my team? Am I encouraging them? Am I asking them, how can I help you? What can I do to service you? What can I do to support you during these times? What can we do to be an encouragement? Don't miss, this is one of the greatest times in your life as a leader to bond your team together like never before. You have an opportunity to literally change people's lives by your leadership and how you treat them. Not just your clients, but the people that are on your team. And then I'm gonna say one last thing, because it goes in that order. We typically are really good at leading, giving servant leadership for people that are our clients. We're sort of wishy-washy on the idea we need to do servant leadership and meet the needs of our people. And the people that absolutely need it the most right now is when you end up finally taking a breath and now you're at home, which most of us are all at home together, and you're interacting with your loved ones. Those people need your understanding more than ever. Now, in real time, what we would say is, they have to understand. I mean, I've been working all day and they just get it. And we can say that in normal times, but right now under stress, your family needs your understanding just like your people do and just like your clients do. That's just a good rule of thumb for meeting people's needs. But right now, really think about that. Being consistent from top to bottom will really help you. All right. A couple of cool things on some insights on the personality information. This is a quote I use all the time for leaders. Leaders influence emotions, emotions drive people, and people drive performance. Woo! So that's why that first slide was so crucial. You're a leader. You're taking care of yourself. If you're not drinking a lot of water right now, drink a ton of water. If you're not getting some vitamin D going outside, go outside. Take a walk. Get out of your house. Do things to take care of yourself. The last thing I'll share with you before we kind of finish up on the personality stuff is some ways to de-stress according to your style. So leaders, we influence emotions. Emotions drive people. That's why I'm really having you think about your empathy right now. Because when you're not empathetic and you can't see what people are going through and you focus too hard on the task without encouraging your people, you're going to lose some of those driving emotions that help people succeed above and beyond task. I watched an entire group of 18 people today when I just encouraged them all take a deep breath and realize, oh my gosh, I really needed to be inspired today. I really needed to feel that someone understood what I was going through as a leader. that was enough for them to buckle back down and go back at it and get more things done. But we need both sides. And then finally, emotions drive people and people drive performance. So this is a great thing for all of us. Our people that we're leading are driving the performance of our companies. And so the better you can do at managing yourself so that you can give good emotions to drive your people will drive performance. I'll give you another interesting thing we're doing right now. We're helping our customer service side is just inundated. We have thousands of clients, as so do you at Express. And so our service teams feel like they're just overwhelmed. I mean, they're literally being on the phone 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times longer than they ever have before in their lives, trying to handle all these issues. We had an edict go down, and it wasn't an edict. It was just an opportunity for all of us in sales to turn back around and just send encouraging words to our service team. So our sales, 70 different offices right now are creating not talk tracks, but little microphone things and getting on Zoom, and they're capturing them, and they're just sending tons of encouragement to our service team right now, because they realize, thank goodness, that it's not just a task. They're doing their task. They're good at serving our customers. What they need right now is some true encouragement and inspiration. And so that's what we're talking about. People drive performance. Okay. Let me pull all this together and talk about how this impacts you as a leader and your personality. In psychology, we have something called an extinction burst. And an extinction burst basically is this. I'm going to use an example to explain it. You go to an elevator, you go to press the button should light up, and you're like, good to go, waiting for the elevator. If you press that button and the button doesn't light up, what goes through your mind is this: I should probably go take the stairs. Now, that's not what goes through your mind. What goes through your mind is that button didn't light up, so I'm going to press it again. And if it still doesn't light up, that's interesting, didn't light up. We don't stop there. We press harder and faster until that button lights up. And that's what's called an extinction burst. In behavior, when we're working with people, an extinction burst looks like this. I'm doing something right now because I believe, through speaking specifically, or talking about something a certain way, or persuading, or telling you to get your job done, or pay attention to your dotting your I's and crossing your T's. All of those things are crucially important. You have to have a plan. You got to work your plan. Be supportive. So we have go-to moves that we use every single day that helps us get a result. When that doesn't work, when we use our go-to move through our personality and it doesn't work, we don't do less of ourselves. We don't adapt or change and go take the stairs. We press the button harder. So if a little of me is good, then a lot of me should be better. And right now, under stress, it's more important than ever to know who you are and your self-awareness, because we do that under normal circumstances. I've spent my career trying to teach the DISC information under normal, everyday life, and people struggle with, man, I can't believe that person does it that way. I can't get along with them. That's without stress. That's without a pandemic. That's without pressure. And so what I want you to hear more than ever is an extinction burst is this with your personality. I'm a D. I'm going to get something done. So I'm going to tell somebody to do it. Now go do that for me. We're under crunch time here. This is important. We've got to do this. And then we say it. And then they don't do it. Well, we don't do less of us. We do more. Because what happens naturally is it kicks off a fear. And that fear says, they're not moving as quickly as I thought they were going to move. So I need to be louder and more forceful. And I'm going to use my go-to move, which is being a D, even stronger. Well, when they still don't do it, then we get really assertive and aggressive. We might even become abrasive. So what at first was your strength is now energized by a fear that you're not getting the result you want, which turns into a struggle. And if you still don't get what you want and get what you need, it's going to turn into a strain. I want to tell you right now that what's happening with our lives as leaders is we're already out of our strength and into our struggle in between those right now. And we have to be really careful, because the pressure we're feeling is, I've got to get this need met more than ever. And so that's why I want to use the personality information to share with you some insights on leadership. This is the basic model of human behavior. You can see, I'm going to use my pointer real quick so you can see it on the slide. On the top is active and outgoing. On the bottom is more passive and reserved or slower paced. On the left side is more task oriented. And on the right side is more people oriented. I apologize. My eyes moved over to my second screen. So just hang in there with me as I do this with you, because I'm moving a cursor over there so that I can see it. All right. So as we look at this model, I want you to remember that there are 4 basic personalities, and each one of them is trying to get their need met. And if you need some extra time, learn the personality information. One of the things I'm going to share with Express, I wrote a little ebook, and I'll send it out. You can get it from either Express. Bear with me. I haven't put it on my website yet, so don't go to my website just yet. But I'm going to put the ebook on there for you to have. I'll probably have it on there sometime by the middle of next week. It'll have some good information that you can just have of explaining the DISC information to take it to the next level. But for our case here, just for your learning, I typically say the D's want to get the job done. The I's want to have energy and have fun. The S's want you to be nice, and the C's want you to be precise. And I use these little hand motions. The D's want to get the job done. The I's want to have some fun. The S's want you to be nice. Please be nice, be supportive. And the C's want you to be precise. Think about how to do things accurately and correctly. These personalities are already built into us. And again, if you've never done the personality information before, that's okay. I want to remind you, you are not a D, I, S, or C. I don't use this as a labeling system. I use it as a way to understand people. And so please don't use this as a way to label everybody around you once you hear this. Just use it as an opportunity to understand how powerful it is to know that you are in a go-to move right now, and that go-to move can cause you to act in a way that causes your strength to go to a struggle and your struggle to go to a strain. So let me share one more thing with you. Whenever you take an assessment, you'll notice that you have 2 graphs, and I'll put, that's graph number 1 right here. That's graph number 2 right there. That's called your environment graph, and that's called your basic style graph. I put a quote up I use all the time. It says, people don't do things against you. They're normally doing things for themselves, and they're doing that to meet a need. Remember what I told you about that. How do we meet this need? We're going to meet that need by being assertive. We're going to meet this need by being independent. We're going to meet this need by being energetic and exciting and influencing. We're going to meet a need by being appreciative and supportive. We're going to meet a need by being calculating and correct. We have needs all the time that we're trying to meet through our style. But what I want to share with you is this, is that you've got these 2 graphs, environment and basic style. Your environment graph is your ability to adapt or change within an environment. And remember what we're learning right now, that adapting and changing in an environment is happening so quickly in so many different changes all at the same time. It's almost, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's very difficult for us to stay in our graph number 1 for very long. It's by nature, the environment graph is your ability to adapt, to take a breath. In emotional intelligence, we would say it takes about 6 seconds to reroute the amygdala over to the frontal cortex so I can make a good decision. But right now, I would give yourself about 18 seconds. Give yourself several breaths before you make a big decision, because the second graph, which is your basic style graph, is your natural style. It's your go-to move. It's the area in which you feel most comfortable. It's the tendency, preference, pattern, or comfort zone that if you had the most ideal environment you would use. It's also how you handle things under pressure or stress. And so right now, we're under pressure and stress. So it's very difficult to switch over constantly when things are changing. In normal circumstances, you might know, well, I shouldn't say anything in front of that person because they're in charge. But right now, the stress, if you're not careful, will get to you, and you only have one move, which is your basic style, and you might overutilize that style right now. So that's why I have this next quote up here. What you focus on is what you get. What you focus on is what you miss. And what you focus on adds energy. So I'm going to take you through this process. What you focus on is what you get. So whatever you're focused on right now, you're going to get more of it. And if you're feeling stressed or anxious, I used to use a term all the time. Have you ever thought yourself into a good sick? Now, right now you can literally watch the news, listen to too much stuff, and literally overthink something and focus on it so much that it's making you feel terrible. I highly recommend getting a small dose of the news or anything else that's causing you to feel stressed out, because that would be just the normal term of this. What you focus on is what you get, and you can think yourself into a problem. What you focus on is what you miss. But don't forget, there's so many positives right now. Remember what I said, we have an infrastructure right now that's almost second to none. We're doing things right now that are so innovative and creative. There are people right now that are absolutely brilliant working on this. My prayer every day is that that person is having a eureka moment and discovers the exact combination of things. Because I was a biology teacher and I taught chemistry and physics as a high school teacher. And I have a prayer in my mind every day that that person is finding that exact pipette and the exact measurement, and boom, we're going to get to hear it on TV, and we're going to get to hear it. And that'll be a much more interesting news than anything we're getting right now. So what you focus on, what you miss. So don't forget to focus on the good things, that you're at home, that you have an opportunity to serve people, that you have a family, that you're able to get goods and services. So, and then finally, what you focus on adds energy. So let me show you, according to the DISC information, how that might look. Okay, so here's what the D is focused on. As a D personality, you're going to focus on what you can control and what you can do. That's one of the number one things about being a D. How am I going to get this done? And then I'm going to give you several things to think about from the other perspectives. Because you're focused on that, remember, that's what you're going to get. But don't forget, empathy, you have 3 other perspectives plus your own. If you're not careful, you'll miss those people completely. And if you're only adding energy to your focus, you're going to miss the opportunity to add energy to all these other personalities and perspectives. So as a D, you're focused on control and what you can do and getting things done. But remember, your I personalities that you're leading right now want to know you care about them. So reach out and talk with them daily. That is not your normal go-to move. You give people control and let them do that. But if you're leading right now, if you're working with your people and their eyes, talk to them, reach out, tell them you care about them, give them some energy through your kind words. The S personality will be glad to support you, show them appreciation, help them create a routine. One of the things that you can do right now as a D, and it's not our normal go-to move as a D, and I have a lot of D in my personality, is to create a lot of structure and organization. We like to give big picture plans and then have people go implement them. But one of the things you can do is go back and look at your plans right now and be a little more organized and a little more focused and structured so that you can help the S's feel a sense of harmony and routine through this. The C personality wants to know what's expected of them, the process and the next steps. You might not always know it. The answer might be, I don't know, we're working on them right now. So we're gonna have to have some grace on both sides. But the more you can create a sense of process and next steps, the more you're gonna get that energy from the C's. And then finally, all the D's that you're working with that have your similar style will want to move forward and take action, and will appreciate your determination and decisiveness, and putting them in charge of something would be great. All right, let's talk about the I's. As an I personality, you're going to focus on the relationship with people and adding energy. Whew, it's tough right now. It's tough being an I. It is tough adding energy in the virtual world. I can see y'all's faces a little bit. I can't see everybody that I'm talking to right now. I hope that you hear in my voice right now my sense of understanding, energy that I want to give to you. But at the same time, man, I get it. This is tough. I'll say it on here just so that you can appreciate it. 3 weeks ago, I left Walt Disney World thinking I was going to go on a great spring break with my family, only to put myself, and have to put myself because I was concerned, because we have 2 elderly parents, in a 14-day quarantine. And let me tell you, for a high I that thinks positive and has lots of energy, to put yourself into a 14-day quarantine with all your family and have to separate yourself from your family and be in your own house and have to go through the mind bender that it takes to every day get up and ask yourself, are you sick? Are you okay? Did I make my family sick? I want to tell y'all that that's why I've written this talk, is because the empathy that you need, that people are going through, you are going to be surprised what people are dealing with. And we might not know, because we might not have those struggles. I have a 9-year-old all the way to a 23-year-old, and everybody's at a different spot. My 81-year-old mom, I can't even get to her in the first 14 days because I was concerned I might give her something or cause her to be sick. I say all that not to say, oh, look at my situation. I just want you to remember that people are going through real things, and your natural style right now, which is to add energy. How excited should I be on this talk? How much energy should I give? I want you to hear my excitement in my voice, but I also want you to understand that I'm like everybody else. I feel real fear, real anxiety, things like that. But I know that as a leader right now, leading human beings, I've got to find a calm in this storm that I'm navigating. So we're going to focus on that. We're going to focus on relationships with people. Remember, the D personality will want something to do, be focused on the goals. As an I, again, we like to add energy and let people go. Right now, you need to be good at writing goals and helping them achieve them. The I's in your group want to be a part of what's going on and be involved. Give them something where they can add encouragement and energy as well. Don't steal away the I's energy right now. If you're an I, as a leader, put yourself aside for a second and let them encourage. Give them the spotlight. Allow them to feel a sense of accomplishment. The S personality is looking for support and looks to support you, so reach out with kindness. And then I wrote this specifically for the C's. The C personality will want the facts and not the fantasy. Out of all the times in the world as a high I, don't say stuff that is ridiculous. Don't say stuff that's unrealistic. Don't create fantasy, hope, and optimism on things that just don't even make sense. To all the personalities, that will offend the C's the most. They want to know what's real. They want to know, they want to be informed in the right way. They need good information. And so great energy is good, but be sure when you're talking to your C counterparts that you don't create fantasy because that's not what they need right now. All right. The S personality will focus on support and keeping a good, solid routine. Remember, the D personality will want decisiveness, so be prepared with action plans. Remember the S, I told you that they want you to be nice. As an S personality right now, you're going to have to raise up your leadership, your decisiveness, your willingness to speak out loud. Your supportive nature is always needed and more than ever right now. But just remember, for certain personalities, you're going to have to raise up that ability to make decisions, even if it feels as though it's going to hurt. And I hear you. If you're having to make hard decisions about your staff or people, your natural inclination is to hurt for them before you even do it. The I personality will appreciate the relationship, so reach out and let them share their ideas. Let them talk. Other S personalities will appreciate your supportive nature. Be yourself. The C personality will be looking for good guidance and structure. You're already inclined to create structure and routine. Try to do that for your C's. As a C personality, remember what you focus on is what you get. What you focus on is what you miss, the other perspectives, and where you focus adds energy. So add energy to all the people. You're going to focus on the task, doing it right, getting the best information possible. Remember, we're working with the D personality, put them in charge of problems to be solved. And I wrote this down specifically within boundaries. Ds are notorious for taking something and running with it. You're going to have to add some boundaries to this because everything is fair game right now because we're reacting so quickly to this environment. Brainstorm with your I's and try not to be overly pessimistic at this time. This is your counterpart. This is your opposite. I's don't live in fantasy land with the C's, and C's, please don't share every single nuance of information that could cause me to go into more anxiety. I don't need all the pessimism in the world right now. I don't need all the realistic information about what's going on. I already have a good enough imagination. If you can just be a little bit optimistic with me, that would be great. And bare minimum, every so often, just encourage me. That would be incredible as an I. The S personality will appreciate a process that they can support, and the other C personalities will appreciate your logical and factual approach. Okay. A couple more slides. We're almost done. All right. Our styles needs. See, a little encouragement never hurts anybody. Our styles needs. Don't forget that when we look at these personalities, what we're looking at is their basic need. I'll go back to the quote. People don't do things against you. They're normally doing things for themselves to meet a need according to their strongest tendency, preference, pattern, and comfort zone. Your needs are this of the 4 different styles. The D's, challenge, control, choices, and to take charge. Energy, positive, recognition, and involve for the I. Harmony, security, teamwork, and routine for the S. And accuracy, value, information, and procedures for the C. More than ever, remember what we learned. Under normal circumstances, these are their needs. Under stress and pressure, all of these things get amped up. 1, 2, 3. If a little of me is good, then a lot of me should be better. If I get my need met this way by taking charge, then I'm going to work even harder to get my need met by taking charge. If you know, right now, one of the greatest things, quite honestly, again, something that we wouldn't have had before is the internet when it comes to, if you watch all the YouTubes, the memes, the people that just can't take it, they have to do something that adds energy into people's lives. And so those are great little things that can add a boost of morale. For the S's, don't forget harmony, security, teamwork, and routine. Not just a little bit, but it's going to be amped up right now. They're going to need a sense of routine, need a sense of security. And then for the C's, accuracy, value, information, procedures. This is chaos. I say this a lot about personalities, but especially the C. C's can be, and everybody excuse me as I say this out loud. I'm going to look into the camera as I say this one specifically. As I say this, forgive me, all right? Give me some grace. I'm trying to use the information to share with you and make a point. C's in particular can be judgmental and suspicious of information because they typically know the information well. And so that's why you have a hard time sometimes. Well, I can tell you from as a speaker's perspective as an I, Google has single-handedly ruined all my best stories. There's any story I used to tell, a C in the audience would go, that's not accurate. That's incorrect. That I snoped it, scoped it, and Wikipedia'd it, and then finished you off with Google, and you just made that story up. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Because they like accuracy and information right now, one of the hardest things that they're dealing with, in my opinion, according to their style, is that it's hard to be judgmental because there's not enough information. It's hard to know what's going on right now because they're still trying to put the information in a box, make sense of it, know that it's valuable, and put a procedure to it. And so right now, the C personality in particular, really give yourself a deep breath and know that you don't have, none of us have all the information right now to make a good decision. And then that's true in change all the time, even more so today. All right. I can't wait to share this part with you. This is where we pull everything back together. How do you communicate and validate these people? Each different style. When you look at the D-type personality, I want you to think about providing opportunity for purpose, be specific and bottom line, and communicate key results to take action on. The D's, their natural style is to want to move forward, make things happen, get things done. And so if you can provide opportunities for them to have a purpose within your company, within your project, within your initiative, helping put together, if it's a huge challenge, something that they can take control of, this is their time. The D loves to do that normally, even more so under pressure and stress. That's their go-to move, so let them do it. The I's, be engaging towards them. Allow time for conversation. Even, you know, one of the things I've been doing with my 18 managers right now is every other week I call all of them individually. And to call each one of them individually, 18 different people, takes a little bit of effort. But what I want them to hear from me personally is that they're not a Zoom meeting. They're not part of a group. They're an individual going through individual things. And so I know that they have real feelings. I know that some of them are moving across the country right now, taking on new offices. Those are real things that they're dealing with that would have stressed them out normally. And then you add this in, doing those little things right now to add energy, to allow time for conversation with just one-on-one, all those are powerful. And then with the I's, communicate more often. More often is better right now than less. I'll try to make this as simple as I can. I's don't like to be isolated or doing repetitive tasks in normal day life in the corporate world. You stick an I in a cubicle by themselves, they're going to get up naturally. They're going to get up and go mess with people. You now have I's in a house by themselves, being isolated. And some of them are single, or some of them, they might have family or different variations. But don't forget, their natural inclination is to get energy from human beings. So reach out, communicate more often, don't isolate them, allow them to be heard. S's, provide a safe and welcoming environment, be open, sincere, and authentic, communicate with kindness. I think my mom said it best. She's a really high S. She was listening to a newscast, and one of the newscasters had the person that was speaking, one of the subject matter experts was speaking about what we were going through. And she said within about 3 seconds, she turned the channel. Why? Because the person felt threatening. The way that they were presenting the information immediately made her feel uncomfortable, and she just changed the channel. She said later that day, the exact same information was being presented, but in a completely different, non-threatening, safe manner, and she was able to listen to all of it. That's what I'm talking about with the S's: a safe and welcoming environment, being open, sincere, and authentic, and communicating with kindness. One of the things right now, if you have a chance to speak from your heart to someone, be real careful not to use a piece of paper. If you have to, that's okay. But I'm just telling you, I've watched a couple of very uncomfortable meetings where leaders were taking a piece of paper and reading them off of a piece of paper. And it sounded like, I just want to let you know how much I care and that we're all going to get through this together. I was like, oh no, you can't do that right now. People need your calmness and they need your sincerity more than ever. And then the C's. If you're going to validate and communicate effectively, follow procedures and guidelines, do things with excellence and accuracy, and communicate the facts. Whew. I'm going to make a juxtaposition between the C's and the I's. They're opposites. C's naturally want these things: procedures and guidelines, excellence and accuracy, and communicating the facts. But now I understand the personalities, I think, better than I ever have in my whole life this last several weeks. I actually appreciate more than ever someone that's following guidelines and procedures. I appreciate the idea that we have some guidelines of 6 feet. I don't like it personally. I want to hug people. I'm a high fiver, but I understand the guideline and procedure to keep us safe. I want you to remember that's how they think all the time. Those are guidelines and procedures. I don't know why people aren't following them. I gave them this process to do, and the D didn't even pay attention, and they did it and shortcutted it. And the I don't even think they read it. At least I got the S's over there paying attention to it, and they said, no, it's a really good, I've seen a lot of forms in my life. That's a really great form. I really appreciate your process and procedure. So out of all the personalities, you got 2 personalities, D's and I's, that don't follow guidelines and procedures naturally. Just prior to where all of us had to get more serious about what we're dealing with, there were some high I's that basically, I don't know who they were. I can't say they're really high I's, but their mentality, their thought was this: well, if it's going to be my last spring break, it's going to be my best one. And they went out and interacted with tons of people during a time where we should have been following guidelines and procedures. And I could only hear the C's in the back of my mind saying, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? Why are you acting like that? Now, I'm blaming the I's, and I'm one of them. But now I want to wrap all this together in one big bow, because I want to tell you right now, we need all 4 of these personalities. And I don't want to call them a personality now. I want to take it off the table, and I want to talk about a perspective. We need all these perspectives to make it through change, and we need all these perspectives to make it through what we're dealing with. The D's, under the crucible of fire, under pressure and adversity, they push forward and make things happen. That perspective is so needed right now. We need people to be decisive and to take charge and move forward and make things happen. We can't be waiting around. We have to do things right now. For the S, we need people that serve. Man, it is amazing to watch right now. I'm sorry, I'm going to get upset, but it's amazing to watch people serve us when they're doing menial jobs. They're doing things that we would say were nothing. And yet those are the people that are keeping us safe right now. And I'm not talking about the nurses and the doctors and our first responders. They're already unbelievable. I'm talking about the people that have that servant heart right now, that are putting themselves in harm's way so that we can get food, so that we can get a delivery. And then right now, we need the C perspective. We need somebody that can be accurate, that will follow a guideline, that will follow a procedure. It will save lives. Those people that are finding the exact way to help us all survive and make things work, we need them. We need them all the time, and we need them now. And I'm going to give the I's a break here, because we need you to. We need all the I's. A couple of weeks ago when I was writing this talk, I was sitting in this exact room, and I was trying to think what I could say to be encouraging to people. And there was not a lot of encouragement around. I didn't feel that great. I'm in a self-quarantine. I'm feeling pretty stressed out. but I knew that there's something in all of us that we can give to this world. And eyes have the ability to inspire and encourage. And so I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden, I live in a suburb outside of Houston, and it's a major thoroughfare in Kingwood, Texas, is a big street that runs through our subdivision. And there's one right next to my house. And I heard this honking, and it was really, really loud. The honking was obscenely loud. And I thought, oops, somebody's making somebody mad. And they're just laying on their horn. And then 10 seconds goes by, and I think, boy, that's abusive. That's too much. And then 15 seconds, then 30 seconds. And I'm like, now something's up. Now there's several cars honking. And I'm thinking, what is going on? And then the next thing you know, I get up and I walk over to, I'm pointing over here like you know where I'm going. I go over to my front door and I look out the door, and there are 40 cars all lined up, one after the other. And they have, we love our bulldogs, and they have their cars all decorated, and they're honking their horn, and they're hooping and hollering outside. And y'all don't know this because you'd have to live in my subdivision, but the bulldogs are elementary school. And it was just a group of people trying to add energy, when everybody's stuck in their house scared to death. And for that moment, I so appreciated the eyes, because they were adding energy into a world where sometimes we feel scared. And we need that. We need that all the time, but we need it now more than ever. Every perspective is equally important. A couple of last things. I just wanted you to hear this so you don't miss it. For the D personality, your blind spot is understanding how direct you can be. And remember, if a little of you is good, a lot of you could be better, but it's not, especially out of control. And I wanted you to hear how they solve problems, because it'll help you understand why they're doing what they're doing right now. They solve problems by debating others' conclusions. So that could be perceived as argumentative in normal times. It could be amped up even right now. So really pay attention to that. They're not upset with you. They just debate conclusions. That's how they do things. For an I, don't forget your blind spot is the importance of structure and focus. So really work on that. And you solve problems by verbalizing your feelings out loud. So it's okay. Talk out loud. Talk out loud, and other people just realize right now that's how they're making sense of everything they're talking. I always say the same thing. I get infinitely smarter the longer I speak. And so I just want you to remember that. They're not trying to make you mad. They're not trying to take too much time on a virtual call. They're speaking more because that's how they make sense of things and they solve problems. The S, remember, your blind spot is seeing the need to assert yourself. So, and then you solve problems by processing information with others' feelings in mind. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough on you right now. You always are thinking about the team, other people's feelings, others' perspectives. You're considering other people's thoughts and ideas, and if they're sick or not right now. And honestly, that's why you're the sweetest of the personalities. You're the best of us, because your focus is on others. But give yourself a break right now. You're going to have to remember. You have to raise up that, lower that S a little bit, raise up your D. But just for everyone else's consideration, they process information by considering others' feelings. That's a good thing right now for the Ds. Pay attention to what the S's are thinking, because they're considering how people are responding to how we're treating them in customer service. And then the C's. Their blind spot is seeing the positive and solve problems by validating and organizing data into structure and order. You do that already. Do a really good job of letting your C's start to take all this different information and what you're learning, and then putting it into a structure and then making sense of it so you can use it not only today, but use it as a process later. I told you I would tell you a couple of quick things about how they handle stress. So here's a couple of go-tos and helpfuls. As a D personality, you're going to need to get involved in something to de-stress. Physical activity, something you can control. I typically like to go play golf because I can do it. I don't know why, because it's very frustrating. But anything you can control or take charge of or do as an activity that no one else can tell you what to do, do it. As a C, a little alone time to recover from emotional stress. Reach for a good book. Do something quiet, something you can do by yourself because you're already reserved. Something you can do that no one else can do correctly like you could. Including a personal hobby that you enjoy doing. For the I, we seek spending more time with people. That's how we re-energize, especially under stress. So interaction is key, even if it's by phone or FaceTime or Zoom. or any of the other platforms, use it. S personality, a little opportunity just to take a break from all the stuff that you're dealing with, the mental stress, with just some nothing time. Watch television, go outside, work in the yard, read a book, take a leisurely walk. But I recommend doing that with someone that you care about and someone that you trust, because you need someone that can just be there for you and be supportive of you. And here is it all pulled together. I just want to share with you, be the calm for others. It's tough right now. We have to find a way to be the calm for others. Reach out and serve others. There's nothing better in a time where you're feeling down to give yourself in service to others. You can outdo a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and a lot of fear by serving other people right now. If you're inclined, pray and reach out to others that pray also. There's nothing like having a group of people that can come together and you can lift things up in prayer, and the strength that you can get from that. It fights off of all kinds of fear with good prayer. Confide in others. Be able to talk to people that you know and share with them how you're truly feeling, and let them hear your heart. Allow others to encourage your heart. Talk to people that you know that care about you and let them encourage you right now. And I had a call last night with a gentleman, and I was calling him to encourage him, but instead he encouraged me. And wow, what an amazing call last night. I wasn't expecting it. I was trying to do the right thing as a leader, and he in turn spent a couple of seconds explaining to me what it meant to him to have me call. And I was like, hey, I'm trying to encourage you. Would you cut that out? But it was so unbelievable to have a moment where someone was lifting me up. Encourage others with your faith and optimism. Fear and anxiety are beaten by faith. And we need some optimism right now. Just try to find the silver lining in things where you can see good. And then finally, lift others up and have them lift you up in turn. I think I was listening to one of my other directors in Insperity. We were talking about this, and she said her friend they live in Germany, and they're all musical. They play instruments, and they're all musical. They play instruments, and they said that all the musicians are struggling right now trying to do what they're doing. So all of them together in this one apartment complex opened up their windows, and they all played Ode to Joy together. They just all played. They were just lifting others up. And that in turn, they served others, and they were the calm for others during that time. And I can't imagine what it must have been like to hear that song being played outside of window in Germany with all those really good musicians playing it. This is a poem that I wrote years ago for my students. If you didn't know it, I was a high school biology teacher. I told y'all that, and for 20 years. And I was always trying to encourage my students to take on great goals and dreams for their lives. And sometimes it gets hard. And I wrote this years ago, but I thought it was appropriate. It says, it's the struggle of the butterfly that creates the brilliant colors you see. It's the fiery furnace that sharpens the sword, that shapes the pot, that purifies the metal. It's the heat, pressure, and adversity that creates the flawless diamond. It's the irritation of what doesn't belong that creates the pearl. It's the pounding waves that gives life and color to the magnificent coral. It's the constant flow of the river that smooths the roughest rocks. It's the single drop of water over time that pierces the mightiest granite. And it's that same struggle, pressure, and adversity that fine-tunes, molds, and enables all of us to live up to our ultimate potential. I think that is appropriate now more than ever, that what we're going through can feel like something that's overwhelming, but that's how we're going to see the most brilliant colors we've ever seen, the most magnificent coral we've ever experienced. And right now, because it's springtime, all the butterflies are being, coming out of their chrysalis and their cocoons, and they're flying right now. And it's absolutely, I keep seeing that. We have one in our backyard that just came out of its chrysalis, and my wife's been watching it fly around our backyard for the last 2 days. And so there's always a moment of struggle and then a moment of victory. All right, I'm done. I'm going to share the story, and we're all finished. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hanging in there. I hope this has been encouraging. I hope this has been information that will help you think about your business and think about your lives and think about how you lead people. If you've never seen it, it's okay. It's called Band of Brothers. It was a series that was on HBO years ago. It was Tom Hanks had put it together. And it was about a company called Easy Company. And the reason I shared this is because there's an episode. I don't recommend it, honestly. I'm going to tell you it. I don't recommend it because that whole episode's on fear and anxiety. But I do recommend what happened at the very end. They were in the Ardennes forest. It's okay with World War II history and all those things, but just the simplest fact, we were pushing across France and moving towards Germany. And it was called the Ardennes forest. And it was at the edge of the Battle of the Bulge. And there was a town called Foy. And what this Easy Company group had been from the battle where they stormed the beaches of Normandy, and they'd been together all the way to the Battle of the Bulge. And now they're trying to push forward and going and occupying this town of Foy. It was a real stronghold for the German army, German military. They were fully entrenched. And so they were shelling our men in this Ardennes forest. The explosions created trees that would blow up in midair and create fireworks, but they weren't fireworks. They were trees exploding. They were being shelled day in, day out, sometimes for hours at a time. And they were being shelled for days, weeks, months. The hard part for them was they didn't know how long it was going to last. They were ill-equipped. They didn't have the right ammunition. They didn't have the right clothing at the time. They didn't have the right winter gear, and it was the middle of winter, and they didn't have enough food. So I watched this, and I remembered thinking about how powerful this was, that those men were sitting there in those foxholes, and you can only imagine what it was like to be shelled day in and day out and not knowing if this thing would ever end. How long is this going to take? Am I going to live through this? Am I going to have a chance to survive? And the end of the story was this: they made it, they pushed through, they got to Foy, and everything is now calm, and they're sitting in a church. And the first sergeant is now talking to Lieutenant Spears, who's the commander, their group's lieutenant of their Easy Company now. And here's what he said. So Sergeant Lipton is the first sergeant. He said, Sergeant Lipton remarks to Lieutenant Spears, the new commander of Easy Company. And he's telling Lieutenant Spears, they're just happy to have a good leader again. They had lost a couple of lieutenants, and one of the lieutenants that had taken over was doing a terrible job. And so now Lieutenant Spears was a respected leader. And the first sergeant was saying to him was, we're just glad to have a real leader in our stead again, so that we can make it through this process of what we're doing. But Spears, the lieutenant, says, from what I've heard, he's talking to the first sergeant, they've always had one. I've been told there was always one man they could count on. Every day he kept their spirits up, kept the men focused, gave them direction, all the things a good leader does. And in that scene, he's looking at the first sergeant and he says, you don't have any idea who I'm talking about, do you? And then the first sergeant says, no, sir, I don't know who you're talking about. And then he says, it's you first sergeant. You're the one that has kept all of those men together through all of this. You're the one that was there talking to them in their foxholes. You were there giving them the needs that they needed to have met, the food that they needed, the morale that they needed, the support, the encouragement, the time that they needed, even when they felt things were completely out of control. You were the one that was their true leader throughout the last month. And I end with that thought that we have the opportunity right now to take care of our people, but you can't do it without taking care of yourself. You got to take care of yourself so you can take care of your people. And I pray that at the end of this, that's what your people say about you. That of all the things you were doing, you're just doing them naturally. You didn't even know you were doing them. And at the end of all of this, they turn back and say, there was one person that was leading me in such a way that I felt a calm, that I felt understood, that I felt as though they were encouraging and they helped me through it. I pray that for each one of you as leaders, and I pray that for every person that's out there that's going through this, that we all make it through together because of the support of one another and how we take care of each other. So thank you all so much for letting me share. I know I went over, but I hope this information truly helps you.